Hello, and welcome to Outside the Zeitgeist, an opinion podcast presented by Mook Media. Please be aware that the opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of the host platform. Outside the Zeitgeist is funded by people like you, for some reason. And now, here are your hosts, Greg and Charles.
Surprise, motherfuckers! Welcome to Outside the Zeitgeist, episode 19. I am your resident misanthrope, Charles. And oh my god, Greg, you're a fucking disembodied head! What the fuck happened to you? Oh, nothing happened to me, Charles. I'm perfectly fine. Oh, okay, Greg. Anyways, I'm your resident misanthrope, Charles. Cheers to you all. As you can see, Greg is only here in spirit. Hopefully, I did align that pretty well. Okay, so don't forget to dislike the video so that you can express that the feeling is mutual, and share, comment, preferably before you watch the whole video, but share and subscribe so you can yell at us more, and people that you know can yell at us more, and so on and so forth. And man, this is really annoying to do a one-man show, but decided to do it just because there's a whole shitload of stuff going on in the news. So let's get into the nightmare fuel. So the first thing I wanted to start off with is that apparently that girl that we talked about a while back, where her uncle was dying and she needed money. So apparently they announced us in her uncle's funeral. Oh, that's outside. I was like, what the fuck is that noise? It's summertime, kids are playing and riding bikes and so forth. Well, it's springtime, but whatever. So anyways, apparently the funeral, that this uncle, that was for this uncle from this girl that we mentioned, they mentioned us in the funeral, thanking us, which, I don't know. Apparently we've now, I can now say that we've advertised at a funeral, and I'm okay with this because, why the fuck not? But on to more serious stuff. The financial news is got all kinds of fun shit going on. So apparently there's a whole lot of money flowing out of tech, big tech, which is possibly why I was talking on our last episode about seeing a lot more commercials on YouTube. But at the same time, reports came out, filing reports from this guy, Michael Burry, and you may or may not recognize the name from the movie The Big Short. He's been shorting, his reports were showing that he was shorting Tesla, but he was also putting a lot of money in tech. At the same time, too, you have cryptocurrency's been taking a hit, the stock market seems to be taking a hit, but the Federal Reserve has all kinds of fun stuff going on. Apparently, the Federal Reserve has made more profits in the past, year? Or the past few months or whatever? Probably a year. I don't remember the exact... didn't record the exact amount. But they have made more profits than about a dozen of the most profitable institutions, companies. And if you're questioning that, okay. But the Federal Reserve has also started back up, really they kicked it into high gear, the repo operations. And if you're not familiar with the repo operations are, it's basically where they hand you a bag of cat shit. We'll get to that later, because it comes from Chicago, apparently. They hand you a bag of cat shit, and you come back the next day, and they don't hand it to you, they sell you a bag of cat shit from Chicago. And then you come back the next day, and they buy back the bag of cat shit at a hugely marked up price. It's a way for them to just give money to the companies effectively. So this is something we saw happen in 2019. It was the, quote, recovering economy trigger. So how much of that's going to actually happen is, again, more just dumping money in to take money away from us and give it all to the fucking rich people, blah, 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 blah. You also have people that are quoting the market crash, or, market crash, Bitcoin crash, or whatever you want to call them. They're attributing to things like Bill Gates and so forth, and Elon Musk saying he's not going to take any more Bitcoin. But, I gotta wonder how much of this is really just manipulation of the market, because if the Federal Reserve is making moves, or it's just gonna slam a whole shitload more money out to all the rich investors, well, wouldn't it be a good thing if everything took a dive right before they were getting all that money? Just saying. But a lot of these companies are having problems because a, quote, conservative organization, and I always use those terms in quotes anymore, and I explained why previously. So you have this quote conservative group that has been making advertisements targeting CEOs of companies that promote the quote woke capitalism. I mean, the whole idea behind much of the supposed the alleged woke culture is that socialism is a good thing. I gotta hate using all these fucking buzzwords. Socialism is a good thing and whatnot. Oh, we gotta treat people like equals, but like they got their sneakers being produced by veritable slave labor in China and whatnot. So this is always fun to watch the back and forth, the people calling each other out for the hypocrisy and whatnot. But speaking of hypocrisy, because we got to fight racism so much, we just gotta end racism. That's why we can't allow white males to take part in anything. So apparently Jim Henson, the Jim Henson school, is not taking any white males, which is I'm okay with this. Fine. I mean, if you need to go to school to learn how to do this with your fucking hands, I mean, you're probably not going to do well as a puppeteer. And also the Chicago mayor, I forgot her name, has decided she's not going to field questions from any white male reporters anymore. Well, at least white reporters. I don't remember if it was a male or not. Yeah, we're making real strides and progress and all this shit. But speaking of Chicago, as I mentioned before, you can get a whole bunch of cat shit now from Chicago, because apparently 1,000 cats are being released into Chicago to combat the rat problem. I always love it so much where we just throw an animal or some biologic into an ecosystem, NGOs, whatever, because it's not like anything bad is going to happen. Personal note, I'll be avoiding Chicago because not only do I think deep dish pizza tastes like crap, fight me, but also I just don't want to be clawed up by cats. Now, typically, for some reason, fucking cats like me, even though I'm always like, get the fuck away from me, quit rubbing against my leg and knocking over my furniture and shit. But, yeah, I mean, these are wild cats they're releasing. Who thought this was a good idea? I mean, but at the same time, what you gotta do to take care of the rat infestation. My main thing on it is that I doubt they approached it with any kind of caution, right? It's like, oh, we got a bunch of rats. Well, what kills rats? Cats. Okay. But let's see. Let's see. I will save that for later. Let's talk about more social stuff. So apparently, Twitch has taken away ad revenue from one of its popular streamers. His name is Amouranth, or at least her screen name is Amouranth. She's one of the ones that does this whole hot tub streaming thing where, she just sits there and looks attractive in a fucking... Oh, that's pretty... Anyways, looks attractive in a hot tub and has little fucking gimmicks and whatnot. And of course, people pay money for this because, I mean, people will throw fucking money at whatever the fuck. And I do have to say, the whole Twitch situation is, people it's just another instance of, in a lot of cases, just another instance of people just trying to drag each other down, right? Because you have the whole censorship going on in other platforms, and a lot of the people that promote the censorship have wound up going on this, on Twitch, promoting their bodies because they're mostly female, and these are all the same people that say white men bad and whatnot. Now, not all of them, but it's this once again thing of I've got a light in my eye. But beyond that, it's the thing of, oh, well, they did this thing to us, so we got to do it to them. and there is an aspect of calling people out on bullshit and hypocrisy, but there was a serious movement to get this stuff removed from Twitch, and I realized I forgot to turn my speaker on. There we go. The speaker's on now. Great. So, I mean, how much are you really being a part of the solution rather than just having tit for tats and for some of these people? Again, not all the people, but some of the people as well. But other what's it called? Other popular cultural news is Boogie 2988, which we talked about before. He's getting charged for reckless endangerment of a firearm, and Boogie is a fucking moron. Now, I listened to Boogie talking on Keemstar, and he was talking with this other guy, Frank, who Boogie, it sounds like Boogie believes that Frank was harassing him. Frank is an asshole, sure, but Boogie's also an asshole. Now, I can, at least in this situation, but I can say that, what's it called? In Boogie's defense, he did display some characteristics of somebody that at least believes that they were being harassed, but he didn't say that he felt threatened. He said that, in fact, he said on Keemstar's podcast quite the opposite. And more importantly, Frank said that he had no intention of actually hurting Boogie. But all the time, Boogie just kept egging this guy Frank on. Come over, I'm going to kill you. Come over, I'm going to kill you. No, that's not how Castle Doctrine works, Boogie. Sorry. But, now the thing where I want to throw my 2 cents in is that Boogie has always come off to people as this nice guy. I've seen a couple of his videos. He seemed like a nice guy, but it's not a good look when you say I got mental issues and a gun. And now, granted, not all mental issues are what's it called? Worthy of removing firearms from a person. Let's put it in that terminology for now, just because I don't have a better way of saying it. But still, I mean, people can flip who they are on a dime, all right? And that's kind of the lesson here with Boogie. I mean, he, regardless, apparently Boogie never did due diligence. At least this is the allegation. Boogie never did the due diligence of looking up at something that was reported to him, supposedly that this guy Frank had done, and he just believed what he was told on it, rather than looking it up for himself. And that right off the bat, if that's true, that point puts all the fault at Boogie, or on Boogie. So, I mean, I'm not sure how this case will work out. If I were in Boogie's shoes, I would try to get away with mental distress or whatever as a defense. But I'm not a lawyer, and also I would never put myself in Boogie's situation in the first place, because if somebody's going to talk trash to me, okay, you go, girl. But okay, so that's all on that. Now we get to talk about the video, the SARS-CoV-2 and all this stuff. So Texas recently came out and reported 0 COVID deaths in the past month. Now, of course, me being me, I have to question, because just like we had inflated numbers for COVID deaths, I have to wonder if there's just being underreporting just to push a different narrative. The governor also recently signed a mandate preventing schools from requiring masks. Right? That was Texas? No, I didn't note that one. I just heard that today. But, so, yeah. But the mask guideline, the CDC has come out and said, if you got the doom spell, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. But, YouTube will put the kibosh on you for going with what the CDC says. Yeah. So, I mean, this has to be, and this is the question here, right? Because, let's face it, YouTube is a government, right? Now, not a government in a traditional sense, but it is a governing body. And, you know, you have all these people like, oh, we want smaller government, but now we want the government to step in and intervene on YouTube and whatnot. But at the same time, you have this whole idea of like bureaucracy. You know, not that I really, what's it called, grant YouTube any leeway on this, because as far as the governmental body is concerned, YouTube would be considered more of a dictatorship or a monarchy. But you know, the whole idea of, okay, let's if we have the benefit of the doubt argument, let's just say that, okay, the CDC comes out with this and YouTube just hasn't gone through their own internal bureaucracy for changing the narrative that they want to push out. So yeah, I mean, that's just stuff that you know, I think about. Meanwhile, Dr. Fauci comes out and he says, you know what, you should have the right not to get the doom spell, and vaccine passports, there shouldn't be a thing. Then again, it's fucking Dr. Fauci, so I'm pretty sure that'll be something completely different tomorrow. This French Nobel Prize winner biologist came out. Now, I saw this. I thought this was interesting because he was quoted on saying that the vaccines are creating more more variants, right? Because you have mutations that happen naturally and whatnot. And he said that the vaccines are creating, at least according to the quote that I read. And I'm thinking to myself, this has got to be a misquote or something, because I don't see how vaccine would help create a new strain of a pathogen. Now, it could enable a new strain of a pathogen to become more prominent. Yes, that I would agree with. So I would think that would be like either a misquote or just a misspeak on his part or something. Because again, if you have a pathogen enter your body and you fight it off naturally, you're going to have a robust immune system. You're going to be able to fight things off and any strains that are related to it off a lot better than if you take antibiotics or, you know, vaccines or whatever. And that's just the way that the human body works. But if you have gotten the doom spell, apparently some places are preventing you from donating blood plasma, which is, oh my God, I would never have thought this would be a thing, because it should be totally allowable for people who have taken a totally experimental, not approved, only authorized for emergency use medication to just, you know, pass on that stuff to other people. You know, I think I might want to get the doom spell now because my blood type is O positive, and there are a lot of vampires out there apparently, and maybe Colin Robinson, but whatever. So that's all the stuff I have on the video. Oh my God, there's just so much shit. And wow, I'm actually getting him through it really quick. Don't you think, Greg? That's right, I thought so too. You know, the good thing about here is I get to fuck with Greg all I want, and you know, so you notice that I didn't go by the script when the opening, and like it's funny because the script is more like a guideline, but I rag on him for not memorizing it. But now I think I just want to have fun with him, and I think I'm just gonna throw in little things in the script and see if he reads it based on his reaction after reading it the last time. So that should be fun. Okay, so we have the Israel-Palestine thing. So Israel put out a picture of destroyed homes, and apparently they quoted the Quran, and this particular passage that they quoted in the Quran talked about killing off the weak people or whatnot. I forget exactly what it says. I don't have the picture here because all I could find was translations, and I don't read, you know, Hebrew or Arabic or anything of that nature. But the gist of it is that, you know, we should kill off all the weak people and whatnot. You know, I could throw in a quote from Exodus in there about killing off people that, you know, worship other gods and whatnot. Just saying. So, I forgot all about that. All right, but I'll get to that later. So, I wanted to go off on a little tangent rant here about the Israel-Palestine situation as I hold up Greg's disembodied head with one hand because it's so lightweight. He's full of hot air. But anyways, so here's the thing, right? Because a lot of discussions have come out. Again, a lot of old things have been brought up, right? The discussions are going back and forth, and I'm going to just weigh in and try and give you all a more encompassing view of what I think about the situation, right? Because I'm here, and I have Greg and then sometimes Red, and we talk about it. But at the same time, we're trying to get to all the different news topics and throw our 2 cents in on what's going on and see, our which winds up being outside perspective sometimes, well, sometimes not, whatever. And then we get our main philosophical topic we want to talk about. So, me being here and that the topic of this episode is just me, I'm going to spend a little more time on it. So, now you hear a lot of this whole thing of Israel having the right to exist and the right to defend itself. You know what? Sure. Israel wants to exist, fine. I'll support Israel's right to exist. But I won't support Israel because Israel is explicitly an ethnic theocracy, or at least that's the goal. Why would I support any ethnic theocracy? On the same token, I'm not going to support Hamas, right? Because as I understand it, Hamas is basically the same thing. Now, you have all these conversations, and what I find so interesting about what's going on, what happens in the discussions of, Israel and Palestine is that there's a lot of things that get left out, right? Cognitive dissonance, whatever, things you don't think about, right? Because it does help to relate to other situations. Now, as far as Israel is concerned, right, Israel and Palestine, the first thing to remember for me is that a country is not a monolith. You have the government, you have the governmental body, right? And then you have the people. And the people are not a monolith. There are people that think one way, and there are people that think another, right? So I look at this situation, and yeah, sure, I see videos of, what's it called? I was watching before a video of somebody interviewing a bunch of Jews in Israel saying that the Arabs should be killed, right? That's not representative of every single Jew in Israel. At the same time, you had this one guy he's a YouTuber, and one of his videos was edited and sent out, and his home was invaded by a bunch of pro-Palestinian people because he was accused of disrespecting Palestine. You get bloodthirsty people on both sides. That's just how it is. That's just life. That's just the human existence. We're all fucking monsters. Let's use that as the grounding point, and maybe we can actually solve what the fuck's going wrong here, which is nothing but a shit show there's no good is ever going to come out of. I also find it interesting how people will monolith the people in Gaza, right? And say, oh, well, they support Hamas. Again, that's not all of them. I mean, some do. Some have good reason for supporting Hamas. Some don't have good reason for supporting Hamas. That's it. But what we've seen happen in Gaza is equivalent to the urban areas, the urban ghettos. Well, I wouldn't say equivalent. It's sort of like a precursor to what you would see here in the urban ghettos in America over the years. You have disenfranchised people who are living under oppression from another group of people. And even if all of a sudden we somehow manage to get them to all stop fighting one another, these are still going to be people that are going to have issues, right? You have Israel always pressing Gaza under the thumb, right? And people will say, oh, well, Gaza, people of Gaza, this, that, and the other thing. But then they'll turn around, and here in America, it's like, oh, we police black neighborhoods too much. Well, here in America, unfortunately, a lot of the crimes happen in neighborhoods with dark-skinned people. And committed by the more of the crimes, at least on record, and we can hash out the whys of that, which I'll get into a little bit. But a lot of the crimes are committed by darker skinned people. A lot of crimes are also committed on darker skinned people. So what the fuck are you supposed to do? Let them all sort it out for themselves? Now, sure, there's this noble intended goal here in America to promote people with darker skin and put them in better situations. But that is the benevolentism, right? And really, the difference between a malevolentism and a benevolentism is that a malevolentism, you try to deny somebody their agency, and a benevolentism is you prevent them from ever getting a chance to enact it. People, people have to, and I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but here, you can't just force people through doorways. All you can do is open them and let people choose for themselves. And most of the people won't choose to go through the doorway, or they'll just choose to go through a different doorway, the shittier doorway, because that's just human fucking beings in general. Back to Israel and Palestine. If we do happen to solve the situation there, not a doubt in my mind, this is what you would be able to expect. Now, as far as who's right and who's wrong, I'm not going to say one way or another. But what I can say is this. When it comes to Israel, right, the Great March of Return that happened a while ago, Israel decided to shoot all these people that were marching, peacefully protesting, because apparently the whole idea was, it'd be nice if the Palestinians peacefully protested for once instead of attacking. So they said, okay, we'll do that. And a lot of them wound up getting shot. And apparently reporters and children and whatnot. But here's the thing. After the event, the first thing that Israel tweets out, sends a message out is, man, we are so accurate with our bullets. And then they retracted it. So what does that tell you? Was the message sent out as an act of fervor? Was it a message sent out of trying to save face? Or was it a message of weapons advertisement using people in what's being called an open air prison? And yeah, you can say that I'm using charged language there, but you'll see why. Because also Israel will say, they've been using this building for military purposes, or this, that, and the other thing. But it helps if you don't blow up the receipts. I also find it interesting that the entire world, for the most part, seems to be lined up behind Israel. And against this place that everybody recognizes is under occupation. And now we can talk about potential influences from Iran and whatnot, other Arab countries, which I'm sure there is, just like I'm sure there's influences from other countries in Israel. But people want to say one side is right and the other one's wrong. Like I said before, I don't support any group of people that wants to have an ethnic theocracy. But I'm supposed to choose a side. Me, personally, what I would say is with my tax dollars, I would, instead of giving people money, giving these people money to kill each other, which I know we like to do, I would just say, okay, let's spend that money preventing anybody else from getting involved and let them sort it out. But even that has its problems. And of course, we all have to talk about what happened when Israel was founded, the Cold War, all the oil, the Belt and Road Initiative, and this is all complicated shit that heads into this. But we're supposed to believe that one set of people are good and one set of people are bad, and that people aren't just people. Another thing that lends credence to and I will say in this case, it lends credence to Israel being in the wrong, as it were, here, is that I do see a lot of, I have seen videos of Palestinian speaking gets censored. Case in point, I was watching the Gray Zone video yesterday. I recorded the video just because I wanted to be able to refer to it. And this video was taken down because apparently the claim by YouTube was that it violated YouTube's policies. And I saw this when I tried to load it on a different browser. I watched the whole video. There wasn't a single fucking thing in there that violated YouTube's policies. So, if the Israelis are so right, then why censor what Hamas is saying? And if this guy, or even, I don't remember if this guy was Hamas. I think he was. But, if this guy was acting in the despair that this guy was showing, then, great acting job. That's what I gotta say. But if he wasn't, people say, oh, Hamas launched rockets into Israel, and if one Israeli dies, that's an atrocity. Well, what about one person in Gaza that just wants to live there in peace, dying? And do you know if that person is or not? No. No, because you don't know all these people. I don't know all these people. So what do you want to do? Pick sides? Okay. I mean, apparently there was a poll that about half the Jews in Israel are for getting rid of the Arabs one way or another, right? By reclaiming the land and by whatever means, getting rid of the Arabs and so forth. But how much of that is indoctrination, right? Same thing on the Arab side. How much of the people that are pro-Hamas, it's indoctrination, right? It's not a new concept. We see this happening in North Korea. Hell, we even see this happening in America with the now what I'm calling the Acuenza Ocho movement, right? For those of you that have seen Ace Ventura, it's all bullshit, all grandstanding and picking sides and whatnot, and monolithing people is never going to help the situation. Neither is you sending out an angry fucking tweet. Because, we live in a world where the aristocracy doesn't give a shit about the rest of us, and they just want us all dead anyways. And events like this are just another way to divide the people and get us all fighting one another. And that's what they really are. While at the same time, they're limiting people from a region where they can take the oil and resources and do whatever other geopolitical goals that the aristocracy has in mind. Aristocracy, oligarchy, whatever you want to call them. So, yeah, that's Israel and Palestine for you. It's a whole lot of horse shit. That's all it is. It's just 100% horse shit. And neither one of these groups of people are in the right. Fuck them both. Okay? And I don't mean the monolithic way of, oh yeah, like I was just ragging on before, for those of you that want to try and get me as some two-faced whatever. But the people that want to kill each other, let them kill each other. I'm the same way here in this country. You have the conservatives, the liberals, right, the far right and the far left and all. They want to kill each other? Fine. I will sit back and watch. That's what I'm doing. That's part of why I got the show going right now. I'm not going to stop them. But I'm not going to help either one either. All right. Now, after that rant, I'll probably need a drink. Cheers, Greg. I wonder if he's going to listen to this. Okay. So, let's see what else we got. So, it was confirmed that Governor Whitmer from Michigan used campaign funds to travel from Michigan to Florida to see her father using a private jet. Now, I think her father was sick or whatever. Now, if somebody's father is sick and whatnot, sure. But flying on a private jet and all this stuff. Okay, I mean, I could see with all the travel restrictions that even she herself put in place, or well, not necessarily travel restrictions, but restrictions in general. I mean that even she herself put in place. But the main issue is the using the campaign funds. Now, what the fuck are you supposed to? What the fuck are people supposed to think? I mean, it's like, oh, but it was for a good cause. Shut the fuck up. Let's see. All kinds of hypocrisy. So Biden, Vladimir Putin puppet number 2, as I sometimes like to call him. So apparently he's allowing this Russian pipeline company to conduct business, even though that it's on the list of companies to be sanctioned and whatnot. And a bunch of people are freaking out about it. Why? Because they believe that, oh, this side, that side, the other thing, I follow the narrative. I'm never going to question the narrative. It's all just, things are just more nuanced. Except for Biden's SCOTUS review commission, which apparently started yesterday. Now, I haven't checked, but when I learned about it yesterday, the video, the open, transparent video, is on YouTube, unlisted. One of the people inside reported that it's all about packing the court, and I can see that, considering that one of the people said that one of the things they're going to look at is the size of the court, specifically mentioning increasing the size of the Supreme Court, but not decreasing it or anything else. Now, and again, there are things we can look at with the Supreme Court. There's all kinds of there's always a chance for improvements. That's why you can always look at things, always review and whatnot. Do I trust this? No, but if you are a citizen and you want to weigh in about how you think the Supreme Court should be handled, you can send an email to info@pcscotus.gov. That's PC. I'll do it in the phonetic military phonetics just for all you. Papa Charlie Sierra Charlie October. No, wait. Oscar. God damn it. Anyways, Papa Charlie Sierra Charlie Oscar Tango Uniform Sierra.gov, PCSCOTUS.gov, info@PCSCOTUS.gov. Do feel free to, they requested people, well, they said, oh, this is where you can send an email to weigh in on it, so, have fun. But stuff doesn't end there, because apparently Biden has hired some private firms to monitor the service members' social media accounts. We gotta find them good ones and them bad ones. And I gotta say, I'm glad I'm out of the military right now, because again, you got what the National Guard's been put through, now what the puddle jumper's been put through, and this fucking shit. And I was reading the legislation earlier to this year. What was it? It was supposed to be about fighting white supremacy, but when you read the legislation, this was on the Congress in the federal government, federal Congress. It was all about making a list of the naughty people. Let's see, what else? So, apparently people are up in arms about the Pentagon's group of spies, which is like, no shit. I don't get it. I mean, each branch of the military has their own intelligence division. So, now, if this is something specific to the Pentagon, or is it each military branch's own, a combination of each military branch's own intelligence rates? But there's 60,000 people, and it's all about the scrubbing social media, hacking sites, changing information. And this is what I've talked about before, like where if somebody in power wants to get rid of you, all I got to do is go on a website and just create something. I mean, this is nothing new. I'm kind of scratching my head why this is a big deal, because it's what we've been seeing over and over and over again. Right? Snowden revealed all this stuff. You have the NHS or you know, the Department of Homeland Security and all this stuff, and it's obvious that the spy machine apparatus just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, I'm just wondering which of the groups is spying on the other groups, right? You have DHS spying on the FBI, who's spying on the CIA, who's spying on the military intelligence, who's spying on, you know, and all this shit costs money and wastes our natural resources for what? Why? Because they hate you and they want to kill you. But yeah, the program's called Signature Reduction, fun times, whatever. But speaking of presidents, apparently there's somehow this a small town in New Hampshire is going to help overturn the election because of shenanigans with the vote counting and whatnot. And it's just like, now, was there bullshit to happen in an election? Yeah. Were people cheating? Probably. I would bet my life on that. I would also bet my life on the idea that there was fraud committed on a large scale. But I would also bet my life that fraud was not being committed by only one party. So I'm all for investigating this stuff in hopes of catching what's being done. Because if we can catch one group of people, we could probably catch the other. Maybe. Who knows? It's all just horseshit. So apparently the Mississippi law or Alabama law, one of those states in that general region, has a case that's going to the Supreme Court that people are saying is going to chip away at Roe versus Wade. It is a bill that prevents abortions from taking place after 15 weeks. I believe Texas just signed into law a heartbeat bill, which, you know, first off, I just gotta say, now this isn't to say to everybody, but I noticed that some of the loudest anti-abortion voices are the institutions that wind up getting caught for molesting children. Right, and they promote the idea, oh, have the baby and then they adopt it, and then it goes into these adoption institutions where the kids get molested and so forth. But, you know, again, this is something I look at scientifically, and, you know, I'm really just becoming pro-abortion at this point, because there's fucking almost 8 billion of us morons on this goddamn planet. What the fuck do we need more for? If you're all fucking stupid, I mean, we're all fucking stupid. We're all fucking ravenous pieces of shit. And you want to have more of us? For what? Now, as far as the whole individual, the idea of protecting the individual and sanctity of life, life is not sacred. It's going to happen, regardless of if it's an individual person or not. And now you could say that I'm jaded just because I've seen a lot of bodies go on the ground. And no, not from the military. It was while I was a kid. I've also had to pull the plug on somebody. Fun times. But the reality is that, first off, you know, let's just go to the extreme case of the third trimester stuff, right? If you're thinking about like causing conscious harm, the oh my god I'm dying effect, that's not, you know, there is the state of being where you're unconscious or something like that. Although I'm not being a proponent of third trimester abortions, I'm just throwing that out there for a point of comparison, right? Because just because there's a brain and a heartbeat and everything does not mean you have a sentient being. Does not, and it's like people are fighting over the potential, right? Something they don't know, right? Um, and it's they're weighing the unknown over what's known and tangible, and that's what doesn't make sense, right? Sure, is it nice to think that, oh, this could happen and this could happen because this happens, oh, this person could be, but there's not a fucking guarantee. I mean, especially if you look in today's society, the chance that that person's going to grow up to be anyone useful is just not great. I mean, look at me. I'm fucking broke dick over here just talking to a shitty microphone and a camera. Um, what do you really, what can you really expect? It's like the gambling sickness, right? I gotta gamble with somebody else's life, and it's easy to gamble with somebody else's life, not your own. And yeah, there's a whole lot of things that go into abortion, the abortion discussion, right? Because on one hand, it's a woman's body, and realistically, by scientific terms, a fetus is really parasitic, even though it's a baby, right? Or it's going to grow to be a baby if things progress naturally. So I just it's the whole fascination with pushing against the odds in some cases. Now, other cases you have people with their religious beliefs, and again, why I say that the thing that people should fear the most is the things they believe in, because the more you believe in something, the less you question it. But still, I mean, your beliefs don't. You can't put your beliefs on somebody else. I mean, if you do, then don't complain when I put my beliefs on you. It's just, and again, another thing that you want an easy answer for, I'm not going to give you an easy answer for, because there is no easy answer. But I'm just going to tell you, and what I'm pretty much tell you guys all the time that watch, is that there are no right answers. Fuck you. You want a right answer? Go fucking jump in a goddamn lake. There's your right answer. Hopefully one full of piranhas and you have a bleeding leg. Let's see. Oh, so I came across this article. A man who was 27 years old was acquitted for raping a 13-year-old girl in Sweden. Now, the story behind this is that he saw this girl, didn't think she was a girl, didn't think she was a 13-year-old girl, because, that's one of the things that's happening lately. Girls' bodies are maturing faster and so forth. She was apparently living on the street. He invited her in, and they had sex. Now, of course, people are going to say, oh, it's predatory, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. But there is such a thing as the Florence Nightingale effect, right? It's you see somebody when they're vulnerable, so you're more willing to accept them and relate them, and it's just a natural effect. Would I expect to see anything like that here in the United States? No. You know what? I find it very interesting, right? Because here's one thing. And this is one of the reasons why this topic is sensitive to me. I'm revealing my bias here. Well, there's actually two reasons, but one involves other people that are living. So fuck you. I'm not going to talk about it because you're all a bunch of fucking bloodthirsty monsters. But the one has to do with the military. And when I was stationed up in Washington State, you had what were called the Bremelos, right? And the Bremelos, now according to the UCMJ, you're not allowed to have sex with anybody under the age of 18, but you'll get these teenage girls, 16, 17, that will go sleep with a service member fresh out of boot camp. Oh, I'm pregnant. Now they got to get married or go to Leavenworth. I find it very interesting that we are willing to make exceptions for entrapment by the police, but not some young kid who wants to take advantage of the laws to trap other people, to trap someone older, to taking care of them or whatever. And this whole idea that, oh, kids are innocent, no, kids are not fucking innocent. They're just unmitigated bastard versions of you, really. I mean, look at that Cash Me Outside girl. She got started in OnlyFans the minute she turned 18. And there are the attractions of, younger people to older people and whatnot. But it's funny because I don't remember because we talked about this before on the show, and I don't remember if I was able to actually get this out. But it's funny because, we have these laws in place that basically allow somebody who's young to have sex with somebody who's older than them, right? Like the 13-year-old with the 27-year-old. And as long as nobody finds out, it's fine. But then this kid decides, you know what? I don't like this person anymore. So now I'm going to let everybody know that we have sex so they can go to jail. And then this kid grows up. Oh, I had sex with this person, and you know what? I don't like them anymore. So I'm just going to say that they raped me. I don't know what kind of society you expect to live in when you are granting complete one-way power over another. And you have this whole line, so you have a couple talking points of, the older person automatically has power over the other one. No. The laws explicitly grant that the other direction. And secondly, it's like, oh, you should have known. What kind of fucking hackneyed stupid bullshit is that? I've seen perfectly mature women, even in their 30s, still look like little girls. Right? Teenage girls, not little girls, but you get the idea. And then you get teenage girls that throw makeup on and this, that, and the other thing. So fucking spare me all your stupid bullshit. I've witnessed your bullshit fall apart. Okay? Fuck you, and fuck this narrative that, oh, we gotta protect the kids from this whole narrative that, oh, if an older person has sex with a young person, they're automatically a predator. No, they're not. Let's ask the questions, okay? Let's say we have a monarch who's 13 with a servant who's 30. Monarch orders servant to have sex with them. Who's the predator? Let's say we have a 13-year-old, goes into a coma, wakes up from a coma when they're 30. First thing that 13-year-old does is have sex, that now 30-year-old does is have sex with a 13-year-old. Who's the predator? 13-year-old goes into a coma, wakes up when they're 30, and now 30-year-old has sex with a 30-year-old. Who's the predator? It's all horseshit. And like I said, this is a topic that strikes me personally just because of shit that I've been through and people that I know. But I mean, besides all of that, besides not wanting you fucking assholes to go after these people, what's it called? Well, you just never go full. I'll say that for later. You know what? I completely forgot what I wanted to say. Fuck you. So anyways, me. So I'm doing this episode to give you more of a background on me personally, and this is kind of like a solo one-on-one. You get to know me and what my motivations are, and let me just say goodbye to Greg. Bye, Greg. You're now deleted from the image. Oh, so sorry. Not really. So, and I've explained, I'm probably going to be reiterating some things that I've said when I started this show too. But don't you feel lucky for an hour and a half of nothing but me talking? I don't know about you, but I really just can't stand my voice. And for those of you that actually listen to it and whatnot, well, you got more fortitude than I do. I'll drink to that. But like I've said before, I mean, there's a couple of reasons why I started this show, and one of the reasons is because I'm just fucking fed up with everything anymore. I got 45 years of pent up hatred and disappointment in me, and I just want to, I just want to scream into the ether. And what a perfect time, because everybody's got a podcast, so I don't really have to worry about becoming popular or anything like that. Although I know Greg I think he wants to have this show turn out to be something. But for me, I'm just like, whatever. We're never gonna be a thing. I doubt we're gonna have any viral videos or whatnot go out. But yeah, and along with that, you have all this shit that's going on, and and I gotta say, while I'm having fun watching everybody fucking eat each other, I still gotta put my 2 cents in about myself, right? So even though we cover news topics that other people are covering, possibly more in depth than we are, it's still worthwhile for us to just even say something. And if all we're doing is saying something into a void and taking up internet space and dooming the world to death by pollution that the internet causes, sure, why the fuck not? I'm all for that. Like I said, I don't have kids. I'm not going to have kids. I would question if I ever had any kids. I don't think I would be a good father, particularly because my childhood was, well, let's just say it was not great. Now, this isn't some fucking pity party where, oh, I want you to feel sorry for. No, fuck you. If you think that this is what this is going to turn into, then please do me the favor of making a slide of razor blades covered in hot pepper sauce and jump down that slide of razor blades while squeezing lemons into your eyes. Thank you very much. But if you guys want to know where I'm coming from, what informs all my opinions, this is stuff that is relevant for you to weigh, right? Because I'm human, I have my biases, just like you're human, you have your biases. I have my benefits, I have my weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses, benefits and detriments, yada yada yada, so on and so on. I didn't have an easy childhood. My parents were divorced when I was 2, and there was kind of a disparate life because my father was middle class and my mother was poor. When I lived with my mother for a decent part, I actually had to share a room with my uncle, who wasn't very kind. Not that he was a total piece of shit, but let's just say that he wasn't very kind, and we'll leave it in his actions towards me, and we'll leave it at that. I grew up in a small town. Mostly it was mostly a small town. It was one of those small towns where everybody knows each other, and never really a good thing when you come from a family that, well, apparently my one aunt wrecked a lot of relationships, and 2 of my uncles were degenerates. So it seemed like that carried down onto me from at least some people. And this is one of those things. When I think about that, and people talking about ethnicism or the black experience and this, that, and the other thing, and I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I know what it feels like to be just discounted or treated like shit just because of how you were born, the family you were born into. Oh no, it's different because you're black. Or no, it's not. It's the same fucking thing. But people want to make it into something different because, oh, I gotta flex and show you that my pain is worse than your pain because that makes me stronger, right? That doesn't kill you, make you stronger, and all this bullshit. And I've had to deal with a lot of bullshit throughout my life. Part of the reason why I analyze things so much, or at least try to analyze things so much, is I had a lot of situations where it's like, no, you didn't say this. You said this instead. It was right after you did this, and a lot of mind games and having to keep the tally on everything and keep the receipts on everything. I wasn't a good student. The only thing I was decent in was math, but I didn't really understand what I was doing. I was just following instructions. Math and the sciences. English, reading and all that stuff, I always got poor grades in. And then I went to read a whole bunch of books later that, were not great, but definitely showed that I improved. Because when I almost dropped out of high school. I almost failed out of high school. But when I got out of high school, I went to college, was overwhelmed because my family life sucked. Um, my grandfather had just died at the time, and I was really close to him. I was living with at that time, throughout my high school, I was living with my father and his parents, and next door was my aunt and my cousin. Um, my aunt would always basically treat me like somewhat of a moron because I was a guy, um, because I was male. Also, her and my father didn't get along well, and I'm pretty sure some of that carried along to me. My grandmother had macular degeneration. My grandfather got prostate cancer and started suffering dementia. So that was high school life for me. And after I got out of high school, I tried going to college, and I'm dropping out. And man, this is sounding real depressing. And I don't want to go full Ted Stryker, because you never go full Ted Stryker. And I still haven't recovered from my drinking problem the last time I went full Ted Stryker. Anyways, yeah, that kind of forced that joke. Eat a dick. So, but after I dropped out of college, I still wanted to learn, because the one thing I noticed is everything around me was all horseshit. Everybody's always telling me stupid shit, doesn't make sense. So I just kept studying math, science, language. So I studied a lot of physics, and physics and human psychology. And realistically, people say, "Oh, think of this because you're a physicist." But the truth is that physics is the basis of all sciences, and chemistry is basically quantum mechanics for dummies, and biology is just physics on a more macro scale, and psychology is just algorithmic physics. Because we all live in the physical world, and we're all subject to the forces of physics, and so on and so forth. And my outlook towards psychology is I have this whole premise that I analyze it by, which I call the operating system of the biological machine, right? Because we're all biological machines. Our bodies do machine things, and our brain that has developed is the operating system which regulates all that. And we have our decisions, and we make our decisions and have our thoughts and beliefs. It means to achieve survivability and propagate and whatnot. So there's that. I worked a lot of dead-end jobs after I dropped out of college the first time, and eventually I went to the Navy. And I went to the Navy. I remember going to the recruiter, and oh man, the recruiter is a nice guy, but I could tell he was full of shit with some of the things, because he told me about one guy he sent off, and he was relaxing on. He sent him pictures relaxing on on an aircraft carrier, and I'm like, yeah, right. But I went in and I asked him. I was like, oh, because I went in there and he's like, oh, well, I don't have any MPs. I'm like, okay, or I don't have any room for any MPs. I'm like, okay. And he was like, well, here, let me give you the practice ASVAB. So I took the practice ASVAB, and he comes back. He's like, well, I got 3 jobs you might be interested in. I was like, okay. One's cryptography, one's a missile technician, and one's the nuclear engineering. Okay, which one's the hardest one? Which one's the one that nobody likes? Oh, nuclear engineering. Why is that? Well, because you're the first one on the boat and you're last one off. Okay, I'll take that. Go to boot camp, and 3 options. Okay, you can be electronics technician, a machinist mate, or electrician's mate. What do you want to be? Oh, what's the one nobody wants to be? Electrician's mate. Why is that? Well, because you're the first one on the boat and you're last one off, and you're usually fixing everybody else's equipment. Okay, take that one. So that's just, the type of person that I've always kind of been. Wound up getting injured in boot camp. It was a painful couple of years for me. Eventually, I just decided I couldn't deal with it anymore, and left, and spent the next almost 10 years fighting with the VA over disability, because, oh my God, you wouldn't believe how much it hurts just to make a fucking sandwich. And I'm not even going to get into how much pain it is just to have sex. But yeah, so I left that. I started working technical jobs, travel around the country, and so forth. And then eventually I wound up teaching. Taught at some for-profit school, which, yep, rumors are true about for-profit schools. And, I really got to look into things that I didn't experience in society for a long time. Because when I was a kid and I left I left living with my mother to move with my father, I went to a city, a school inside of a city. So, more urban area schooling. And man, I gotta tell you, when I changed schools, it was like I went back 2 years of my educational process. But when I was teaching, I just saw how much the educational system is degraded, and how a lot of these guys, these adults, were just going into approaching the school with expectations rather than um, desires, right? And one thing the one thing I'd tell students every now and then is like, because I was teaching people how to be electricians, so I was like, if you plan on cheating through this course, let me give you a piece of advice. Have a really good friend. Make sure this friend is really friendly with your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. More importantly, make sure he's really friendly with your kids. And get your kids to eventually start calling him daddy, because if you manage to make it through this course while cheating and then you go out there and you manage to get a job, that's what I'm going to start doing, because you're going to kill yourself. Um, electricity, is not something that gives a fuck about what kind of day you're having. It's just going to kill you if you're fucking stupid about it. So that's how I approached it, and of course a lot of students didn't like me for that, and some students didn't like me because of the way I taught. I mainly focused on teaching heuristics because, you have to be able to figure things out if you're going to work as an electrician. That's what being an electrician is. It's all about figuring shit out. It's not so much, oh, hey, I'm just going to do the same thing over and over again. Or I'm just going to do what somebody else tells me. I can pay some fucking random jack off on the street to do that. So after that, I decided to go back to college because I had my GI Bill, and I was, I started with a divorce. Well, weren't officially getting divorced then, but my relationship with my at the time wife was breaking down. So I went to Rutgers, and oh my God, the educational process is still. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember Rutgers was like in the, what was it, the 78th percentile or something like that. And when I went there for the orientation, when I was going back to college, they said, oh, we're at the 26th percentile now. And I'm just like, yeah, I just came from one of the places that boosted your percentile up. Yeah, and I guess the fact that I'm paying all the time, my marriage was ending, and I left my job that was shitty. They wanted to get rid of me anyways because I wouldn't just blaze grades on everybody. I guess the stress got to me then because I started to suffer from psychosis, and that was a not fun time. Started hallucinating a person, and I'm not going to go into that whole story because once again, you never go full Ted Stryker. But it's been a long road of recovery from the psychosis. I mean, as far as I know, I'm not suffering from it anymore. And there's always that thing, right? Because it's given me a different perspective on things, right? Because you have that whole thing with people is like, oh, once somebody does something, or once somebody does something like commits a crime or something, it's easy for them to do it again. And I'm just like, it's not really, right? Because I mean, you're talking about the way the brain is constructed and everything. The brain is something that's always constantly developing. It's always constantly changing and altering, rewiring. It's based on the experiences you have. So no, that's not really a thing. It's all it is that, oh, so you've been made aware of it now, right? It's that whole, oh, it can't happen to me thing until it actually does. And not to mention the fact that the second time I went to the cracker factory was realistically because I told the shrink there that I was a misanthrope, which, and I was also tired as shit because I was up all night, or because I was woken up because I was working nights. And as I've said before, the fucking suicide prevention is a bunch of horse shit. And I do have to wonder because I think back about all the hardships I've had through my life, and even though they're not like the worst I've ever heard about, I do have to wonder if that was really just a sign that I've always had, some form of psychosis or whatever. Because all the stress I went through, I was a pretty fucked up kid. I had a lot of issues and just couldn't deal with things. And I just could never relate to people. I always felt alone. Even when I was married, my family, just never felt a part of anything. The only time the only time I ever felt like I wasn't alone was when I was experiencing psychosis and when I was around the person I was hallucinating. So that's interesting. So here we are, modern day. And I just go on day by day, watching everything go by. Just another, I don't know, just another countless face and another countless voice in the world of complete and utter stupidity. And I can't work a normal job like I used to, just because of all the shit that's wrong with me. So that's why I guess that's part of why I decided to do this show as well, is just kind of give myself the illusion that I have a job and, a real job. And that was the other thing too, was designing my prints, is I guess giving myself the illusion that I want a job. But ultimately I just live off the disability that I get from the injuries. But, goes against that whole narrative of people that are just handed out free money, just going to do nothing, sit on their ass. I'm definitely not an example of that. And, I don't see that. I mean, I've talked to other disabled people, and they're people that want to work as well, but the reality is that our job system in this country is just not really favorable for that. I mean, the only way you can really work and be disabled is to be a gig worker and have something dependent, something that you can, fall back on. But so besides that, I tutor, right? I tutor kids mostly. I haven't done that in a while just because, I'm just getting fed up. But, it seemed like a lot of the kids like me, and even my own experiences, most parents are fucking complete dog shit. Alright, I won't go so far as saying complete dog shit. Let me put it this way. If you decide, if your motivation for having a kid is, oh, well, I want to be a mom, or I want to be a dad, or I want to have a kid, well, congratulations. The first decision you made in this kid's life is something to cater to you. Not to them, to you. The whole purpose of the kid's existence is for you. It's not to be an independent entity. It's to make you happy. So, for all you that have parents out there, just think about that for a little bit. Because when I worked with these kids, and it was the same thing when I was a kid. I was just, that was another reason why I was kind of felt alone. And really too, I was always kind of ignored a lot, and that's the funny thing too, is like I get ignored a lot, and I use it to my advantage, because if you want people to not pay attention to you, you just have to be simple, honest, and because the best way to hide something is right in front of people's faces. Like with Bill Gates came out and said, you know what, we need less people in the world, and everybody's like, oh yeah, let's follow him, he's gonna save us all. Or the IMF saying, you know what, we want to control who spends money where. It's all the same thing. The best way to hide is right out in the open. Um, but yeah, when it came to working with kids, I saw in a lot of these kids the same bullshit treatment I got. It's like, oh, you're the kid, so that means you do that, and you don't question, you just shut up and do it, and blah 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 blah. And I think I got some respect out of the kids because I would never treat them that way. I would just say, hey, look, this is an opportunity for you. Work with you as much as you want, okay? But I'm not going to come here and just goof off and whatever. You're here to learn. Now, how much of this opportunity you take is perfectly up to is 100% up to you because in the end it's your life, your decision. You got to live with what you do in the future. And kids just responded better to that. But I still stand by the fact that kids are just unmitigated bastard versions of their parents because like I had this one girl, she was telling me about this boy in her class, and I was like, oh, we make fun of him because he's so weird, and I was like, well, when I was a kid, I was a weird kid that everybody made fun of. She's like that can't be right because you're cool. And I said, well, maybe the lesson is that you should be careful of how you treat people because you never know who they're going to be one day. She thought about it for a second. She's like, maybe you're right. And she was like an 8-year-old kid. I had another kid who had autism, and he got picked on a lot. I tried to tell him my experiences. I got picked on a lot when I was a kid. People would call me all kinds of shit, and initially I would let it get to me, but then one day I realized, why the fuck why should I let it get to me? Somebody's gonna say something about me. That's them. That's them being a fucking moron. It has nothing to do with me. Now, if they're gonna offer me criticism, okay, I can sit there and think about the criticism. All right, this is legitimate. This is not. I can go on with my fucking day. But if somebody's just gonna say, oh, you're this, that, and the other thing, that doesn't fucking help. Same thing with compliments. I used to get a lot of compliments from people, partly because I could sing and the way I looked when I was a kid. And I'll show that picture when we get to our relationship episode. But I used to get a lot of compliments, and I'm just like, this isn't helpful. This just not. It's not something real. Let's see. Oh yeah. But so one thing I wanted to talk about too is people put their kids up on pedestals and whatnot, and that's just the other thing too. Like inside the society, you have we gotta promote Black and Latino and this, that, and the other thing. But all this makes me think of I can't remember her name. I think it was Charlemagne, Roman Emperor Charlemagne, whose friend was the Pope, and the Pope and they were positions of equal power. But then it was the Pope or a religious figure or whatever. But then the Pope crowned Charlemagne. I think it was Charlemagne. And by doing that, right, the sign is I gave you the power, and now I can take it away whenever I want. And that's the whole thing of whenever you put people up on pedestals, right? Like, people do with their kids, or people do with people based on their skin tone or their sex or whatever. That's all what it is. It's all about claiming power about somebody else. At least in my mind. I could be completely wrong. I mean, I could be completely wrong about everything. All this stuff I'm talking about could be complete and utter horseshit. Okay. So if it is, then feel free to decide that for yourself. If it's not, same thing. But, like I was saying, about getting picked on when I was a kid, eventually you just have to learn what's substantial and what's not. And that's not something that people should have to walk around. I had a bully, right? Not sure how that relates, but whatever. Well, I mean, because when somebody says something about you, you choose how you react, and you can train yourself how you react, right? And like I've said before, sure, people have issues where things, PTSD and so forth, but You know, I had a little PTSD myself because of my psychosis, and just like I had to get over that, people got to get over it. You know, it's an easy thing, no, but all people can do for you is open the doors. You have to be the one to walk through them. You have to be the one that sits there and says, you know, like the scene in Fight Club, right, when he's got the acid on his hand, he's sitting there watching it burn, and he lets it burn. Is it stupid? Maybe, but what is he doing? At the same time, he's becoming stronger for it because he's building up the tolerance to it. The only way you can ever learn to deal with pain is to let yourself feel it. Because if you never let yourself feel the pain, then you're never going to learn how to deal with it at all. And that's what I learned getting picked on as a kid. And now people say whatever the fuck they want about me. And I've also learned one thing I didn't understand at the time too, which was the whole idea of camaraderie. Right? We make fun of each other. You know, people make fun of each other and they rib on each other and they play jokes on each other because it's funny, but also it can be a way to help make people stronger. So let's see. I got about 5 minutes of time left that I can try to fill in. What else can I talk about? Just other than that, just being a general skeptic, right? Because when I was a kid, there were so many bullshit narratives that I had to deal with, and things I was supposed to believe, but the evidence shows contrary. And what's that saying? Tough times breed tough people, and weak times breed and tough people breed weak people, and weak people breed weak times, and weak times breed or weak people breed tough times. Some shit like that. I don't know. It's the whole thing, like, it sort of relates to the one thing I say, you know, the price of freedom is vigilance and tolerance, but its consequence is complacency. Because if you want freedom, you have to fight for it, but you also have to fight for somebody else's right to have it. But it's so easy once you have that freedom to just be like, you know what? I don't need to worry about anything. So for me, I guess looking forward, for me, for the rest of my life, this is it. I mean, I've been thinking about my psychosis lately, and my psychosis dealt with the belief that I was predicting the future, and you know, you always kind of notice things. That's part of the psychosis. You're noticing things and making connections, and that doesn't mean it's not that's not a normal part of human behavior, but it's just taken to a whole extreme when you're under the effects of psychosis, because everything's got to have a meaning. Everything's got to fit like a puzzle piece, and it's all one big thing that goes together. And I look, and you know, I see that, you know, just little things, and I wonder if I'm really past the psychosis or not, or if I'm gonna start hallucinating that person again. But time will tell. Other than that, not much else I can do except sit here and do my thing and just do whatever, and you know, be a handyman for the people around me. Apparently, that's my new thing as well. Just fixed this guy and how to fix his treadmill. Well, he and I were working on it together, but yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that's long enough. We can end it here. I'm pretty sure you're all completely thrilled of listening to me for the past hour and a half. So once again, Greg's out. He's off on work. He's out of state on work. If he is not back on for the Monday episode, then it'll just probably be me and Red. And we'll continue the You Shall Not episode, because there's more things I want to get on than that. But once Greg does come back, then we will have the episode Shit Relations. This has been your surprise episode. If you enjoyed it or not, fuck you either way. If you want to come back for the next episode or not, fuck you either way. You can remember to look for us on Locals, BitChute, Minds, and Rumble. Apparently Rumble just got a big influx of money, so they might be growing and whatnot. Now, I could put all the links for all that shit for you guys in the description, but I'm not going to because, again, fuck you guys. And besides, if you're really going to follow us and be a part, then I'll let the intelligent people actually, intelligent and non-lazy people actually do the searching. Although that is kind of counterintuitive to what I want, because I really just want people in their stupidity making fucking idiotic comments just so I can laugh at them. I'm not supposed to have intelligent comments and feedback on these videos. It goes against my narrative, you fuckers. Well, videos and audios, because, yeah, some of you guys listen to only the podcast. But, yeah, with all that said, once again, I am Charles. Remember to always believe, never question. God, I don't even remember the script now. Never question, never ask for proof. Always believe what you're told by the news and the politicians, no matter what. Now go back to sleep, fuckers. Good night, fellow human. You'll wake up tomorrow to cause more destruction and bring much more sorrow. You'll go out and smile and pretend you are good, but once you get crossed, you'll don a black hood. You'll maim and you'll rend, all while you pretend that you are some kind of hero. You can't face the truth, and you'll stay aloof to the fact that you're a zero. You'll sit and stay glued to a spoon-feeding tube so that you can believe you're the best. You'll obey and be bribed by a campaigner's lies. All throughout the COVID murder fest.